My name is Jade, owner and principal planner of Joyful Events by Jade, and this is The Cookie Table. This is a podcast all about love, marriage, relationships, and the wedding industry, wedding news. Perfect for anyone that is getting married, is married, a wedding vendor, or someone that just loves weddings. Grab your favorite cookie from The Cookie Table, pour yourself a glass of Chardonnay, and let's get into it.
People don't understand how much work podcasting is. You think, oh, you just sit down, press record. Yeah. But Jade's doing a lot of work for you guys. All right? This is all for you.
All for you to put the good stuff out there, okay? Michael Will, thank you so much for joining the
Thanks for having me.
Michael Will Photographers, michaelwillphotography.com.
.com, yeah.
You had a really lovely array of different types of cookies and desserts that you liked, and yes. I wanted to go get them all for you, okay? This is a Monday morning recording. That was part of my, having a hard time getting out there and getting the stuff, so I went with your third choice, which I didn't want to go with your third.
Rice Krispies are beautiful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Always a fan.
Your very favorite is from Oakmont Bakery?
Yes, love Oakmont Bakery. I think it's the brownie drop.
Ooh.
I remember the first time I had it, I was like, this is a top tier cookie.
It's a cookie.
It's a cookie, but it's like a brownie batter-ish type thing,
yeah.
and they drop it and it cooks like a cookie. Oh. Have you ever had the Duquesne Club cookie too?
No.
That one is also very good. It's like it's elusive. It's like a exotic animal out in the field of cookies.
I like your tasting cookies because I feel like looking back at our guests, you all have wonderful cookie taste. Just so you're aware.
Chewing this in the camera.
Oh, that's chew it up. Chew it up. Eat it. Chew it up. You're the first person to actually take a bite, and I love that. I respect that, and I love that.
I'm regretting it.
Now you're like, this is why no one takes a bite. But no, your tasting cookies is lovely. Everyone's usually just like, oh, I like a chocolate chip or like a, Lady Lock. So that's fun. That's why I wanted to get
I've become a snob, though.
It sounds
after
like
so
it.
many, honestly, after so many weddings, like I kind of look at the cookie table, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna have anything.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And also, okay, I feel like the longer you do it, and you see the cookies, when they kind of come in the unboxing, you kind of lose your appetite a little bit. You've seen a couple hairs here and there, and you're like, you know what? You look at the guests, you're like, is this who's making the cookies?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to dabble too much.
It's like taking the magic out of Disneyland.
Yes. Yeah, when you see, see how the sauce is made.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what?
We don't want that. This is weird. So tell me how long you've been doing photography.
So I have been 15-ish years. Yeah, started in 2008. And it was always a passion of mine. I actually went to school for marketing. And I graduated. I wanted to work in advertising, but the only one who would hire me was a search engine marketing company. So I ended up doing pay-per-click ads for Huggies and feminine products and things like that. And it was cool. It was fun learning about that, especially at that time, because that was when SEO was it's still a big deal. But I didn't really love it. I got laid off after 6 months because they lost a big client, one of those things. And I was like, I need to make rent. So I started doing photography. I sold Fios. I did some public speaking for a company. And photography started to take off. I set a second shot for some people. And I really love people. Yeah. Like for me, it's like the human interaction, and that's what makes it really fun. So weddings are a really ramped up version of that. And I've done all sorts of things. I do some product photography, but I've done but I just real estate photography, still life, just doesn't really excite me. Yeah. I need that kind of human interaction. So I can do it if there's someone on set and it's like a collaborative thing, but I've had to be alone in my basement shooting product before, and I'm like, it's not for me. So, okay. I mean, some people love that, which is awesome, but I need people, and that's kind of what gets me going.
You do more than weddings?
I do, yeah. So I do weddings. I also do some families and a lot of commercial photography. So kind of lifestyle-based stuff for companies, hospitality, higher education.
I love that. You had a podcast for a little bit.
Yes. So Stephen Dre and I, shout out to Stephen Dre. We had a photographer. It's still on Spotify. It's called Ask the Photographers.
Oh, okay.
It is. We have 50 episodes. I think we may have stopped in 2018, 19. So who even knows what we said anymore? I mean, check it out. Probably get me canceled. I mean, who knows?
No.
Also, I have 3 episodes of. I'm still squatting on PGH Wedding Podcast.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Wedding Podcast.
Okay.
So if you're considering that for a name, I'm the reason you don't have it.
I wasn't actually, so we're fine.
This is more national.
Yeah, this could go for it. No, I'm just kidding. But you're very comfortable behind a mic. Your content recently, we were talking about that a little bit off the record. You're doing a great job with all of that. You're interviewing people at weddings. You're changing the game a little bit, I think, especially from a photographer point of view. You don't see a lot of photographers bumping that out a lot, like pumping out that type of content. So I follow. It's interesting. I follow a lot of photographers. Yeah, like a lot of people, and so you see a lot of things, and you log in. The algorithm knows what I like. I like business tips and beautiful wedding photography, and I was getting really frustrated by the content that I was seeing. Yeah, because it's like someone will be on there and they'll be like, oh wow, what my photography tip is? I take the lens cap off, and I'm like, everyone does this, or like I put it in focus, autofocus. And it's like 1 million views, and everyone's freaking out, like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I'm like, everyone does this. Yeah. I was like, you're not saying anything. And so, it is frustrating that the fact that like the content doesn't really have to be good. Yeah. You just have something out there, and hopefully it catches fire. Yeah. Right? And then, you spend all this time crafting stuff. Like we were just talking about how long it takes to actually edit like a reel, and I'll spend all day putting something together, and it's like, 100 views. And it's just so worth the time. I'm like, I'm really glad I did this. Yeah, so glad. Abandoned my family to create this. Honest to God. But no, I started reading. I like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Yes, and my husband loves him. He has a new book, and he's basically just like do random stuff. Yeah. Like who cares? First of all, who cares? And try stuff, see if it works. Like it might be dumb, but it could be cool. And I saw something like I always like man on the street interviews. So I was like, I should just do this for weddings. I love that. And so I have a bunch. If anyone wants to edit these for me, hit me up. I'm sitting on like 10 right now. I got to get them out the door. That, and then just, I feel like if I could add value, kind of educate, because for people getting married, this is like, your first and last wedding, and you don't know what you don't know. Exactly. And there's a lot of things out there that like, if you could kind of put this information together, like I just did one, but it's funny because my most popular reel, and I don't get a ton of views, but it was literally, I said, don't make this one wedding mistake. Yeah. And then, you do the algorithm, things where it's like, okay, what you have to do is you have to have a looping thing. Yeah. You don't actually say anything in it, but you put it all in the caption. So they have to watch it over and over again while they read the caption. And you get them with like this hook, like, don't make this mistake, it'll ruin your wedding. And I was like, what can I say? And I was like, oh, you just, talk to your photographer before the wedding. It's like the dumbest thing. Yeah, I know. It's so dumb. Like I felt bad doing it. Yeah. And like, I was like, so I was like, but it wasn't that dumb. But then I was right? like, I feel it feels unethical to keep doing this. So I was like, let me do something else too. And and I love people. So if I can, chat with people at weddings and stuff, I hear you on that. For me. All the reels that I do for the cookie table, same thing. I was like, I need to put content out there. What else can I do differently? And I knew I wanted to start a podcast years ago. I've been thinking about it. So I was like, this could actually solve that problem because the content's going out. But I'm also doing the podcast instead of like doing other content that I wasn't sure of. Well, I feel like if you can do something, if you can create content that is also fun for you, or it fits in with like, your passion or something you're excited about, then I think it really works. But when like if you have the glasses really popular now that record stuff. Yeah. If you just do that, but like, is that fun? Is that additive? I don't know. Right. I feel like you just get a lot of stuff and it's the same, but you have a radio background. If some people have like if they like to cook, then just talk about your business while you're cooking or something. Get the creative juices. Just something, something else, something different. So there are a lot of photographers in Pittsburgh. It can be, I think, a little bit overwhelming for couples that are looking for a photographer. They don't know where to start maybe, but it kind of, I think, comes down to different styles and obviously the look, right? It's photos. So how would you describe your photography style? Give me a few words. So I've coined a term. Yeah, let's hear it. It's called the Canditorial. Okay. Canditorial. It's the candid editorial. And actually had a couple clients, back in the day, and they were like, oh, Michael, your style's like this candid editorial look. Yeah. And I've always liked that because for me, I want images that have like, I don't know, soul to them, have personality, they're like, emotive, like you're actually smiling or laughing or like you feel something when you're looking at it. So it has that. But at the same time, as I've progressed in my craft, I've learned, to remove distracting elements. And like, I'm not afraid to kind of clean up I'll call it a set, but like, clean up where I'm shooting. So there's no, there's not like a Starbucks cup. Exactly. Yeah. Just kind of, trash everywhere. So it's kind of like you're cleaning it up.
So I want a clean editorial look, something that is beautiful. It looks like you go to a magazine. You know, there's attention to detail. I'm paying attention to lighting, but I still want it to have that emotion element to it. So that's kind of my style, and I focus on like a true to life edit. So the colors that actually kind of match up. I try to stay away from trendy presets, you know, filters, things like that. So I want the colors to be nice, and then obviously we boost them up in post and stuff. I would say would be my style.
I like that.
Thank you.
Would you say timeless as well?
I'll say timeless, yeah.
Do you feel like
I say timeless in all of my things, yeah, 100%.
Do you think that word's overused at all?
I mean, probably.
Well, but it works though.
People
it's like timeless.
Well, here's the thing. You know, and I because when I talk to a lot of brides and grooms, they're like, I don't really know anything about photography. You know, because I'm like, hey, tell me what you like. You know, what do you, or what do you like about my work? You know, why are we talking? You know, like, why are we talking? Like, what's kind of your style? And like, I don't really know, but I like how they look a little different, or I like how the people look real. Because, you know, for me, I want images that feel like you and look like you.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation. I feel like it's all about the experience. And so I know there's a lot of photographers that put a lot of emphasis and effort into the photos that they're creating, and I applaud that. Yeah. But I also wonder if that can take away from the couple's experience of their wedding day. And so is your wedding becoming a photo shoot? Is it too much emphasis on the photos? Because for me, I feel like, you know, when I got married, this was years ago, and we have a lot of beautiful photos, but I just remember thinking to myself at some point, I was like, you know, I think I'm done with photos. Like I actually want to go have a cookie. I want to be able to see my friends and family.
Yes.
Like, this day is flying by. And so I always tell my couples, like, listen, like, we're going to get done what we need to get done. I'll direct you guys. We'll make sure we're going. But at the same time, like, I'm watching energy levels.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big part of being, you know, a people person, is I can look at them and be like, all right, I think you guys are done. Okay, go have a drink. We'll come back out. And if you like break your day into little photo segments, like, hey, we're doing a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. They're not missing their party. Their energy level still stays really high.
Yeah. And
you can get the most out of them. And then you get to be creative, because I feel like sometimes they give me a long time for photos, and that works for some couples.
Right.
Other couples, it's like, it's a lot harder, because maybe they're not as like easily photographed.
Yeah.
It's more effort to kind of create these cool things for them. And so it's like, you can get breaks, and then you're like, all right, you can come up with another idea, and like, this would work here with the venue or the lighting.
So for couples that want to do all their photos before the ceremony, and then they want to relax the rest of the day, is that too much?
It depends.
Yeah.
I think if it depends on the couple. It depends on how many photos they've in them. Like, speaking of reels, I just did this one where like every couple only has so many photos in them. So it's like finding out what that limit is.
Right.
But I think that getting them done beforehand is probably the best idea.
Yeah.
And then maybe doing, you know, you do the family photos after the ceremony, and then maybe sneaking out doing some night photos. Kind of a chance there. But if we have multiple locations, I like that. If we have, you know, flexibility, if we're like stuck in one room, that gets challenging.
Yeah.
To kind of give them like a, you know, nice variety.
Yeah.
So
that brings me to working together on a timeline.
Yeah.
With a planner specifically. When do you like to see that timeline? And this is me kind of bluntly asking, like, do you actually care? Do you actually read
look at
it? Something that myself and other planners that we've talked about, we will tend to run into is you send a timeline because you want to get ahead of it, or you send it at a specific point, and then week of the wedding, sometimes every now and then you'll have a photographer or even another vendor being like, this isn't going to work, this doesn't work for me, or something, and you're just like, well, why didn't you fucking read it months ago when I said it? So that how can we be better?
Yeah.
Or everyone works differently. What works for you?
Yeah, it was a great question. So I feel like a couple of things here to unpack. I think the first one is, me personally, I'll kind of work in whatever restraints I have.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to be very adaptive. So sometimes I get a lot of time, sometimes I don't get any time. And so for me, that's just part of the creative mix.
Okay.
It's like a every wedding is, for me, it's like an episode of Chopped, where it's like, this is your couple, this is the location, this is like the lighting or the time that you have. Make something great, you know? And so that's what makes it fun for me. It's like, you know, I feel like a competitive chef. I come in there, I'm like, what are we cooking up today? Like, what's my secret mix of ingredients? You know, like, what are we doing?
You're cooking it up.
Dude,
You're cooking it up good.
Trying. Like Bobby Flay.
You really are.
My icon. So, you know, and I think if I worked with the same planners all the time, it'd be one thing. But sometimes you have a planner, sometimes you don't. And so I've just created my own system.
Okay.
And so I have a run sheet I put together. I have a questionnaire that I send. I like to do a call, and it kind of follows a similar template. And I have a timeline that works with the information that just I need. So, and I understand everyone kind of has their own timeline. The planner puts together the master timeline, and they'll send it to me. And, you know, I try to reconcile that if I have the time.
Right.
But I'm also like, well, let me give it a high level view, and then I'm still just going to run off my sheet.
Yeah.
And I create a living Google Doc.
Okay.
I'll share it with my couple or the planner. And then when I have my kind of walkthrough call with them, we'll map it out. And I do everything in like 30-minute segments. You know,
that's what I'm finding.
When I see stuff in 15-minute segments or 5 minutes, I'm like, it's not. Have you ever been to a wedding? I'm like, it rarely is like this.
Right.
But I mean, but I understand too, like when you're trying to map out so many different things, you kind of need that. For me, I just need to round it up to like 30 minutes.
Right.
It's like, this is going to take at least 30 minutes. It's like in Pittsburgh, it takes 30 minutes to get anywhere.
It takes 30 minutes to get anywhere. It could be 2 miles away.
There you go.
And it takes 30 minutes. So that's kind of a good point. So let's say we're breaking down after hair and makeup, and we're breaking down that bride getting into the dress scenario and then doing a first look with the bridesmaids. Would you rather see that all grouped into kind of 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't.
But you know what you do.
All I need to know is like, hey, when's the bride going to be done? And then I tell people, I say, hey, listen, if you're done with hair and makeup when I get there, that's great for me.
Okay.
So that way it's like, so I have a checklist of shots that I want to get,
right?
Like at every wedding, and so I've realized less and less do people actually want the hair and makeup photos. Like maybe like one or two. I just need like a couple, maybe one or two, but no one prints them.
Yeah.
They rarely make the album, maybe like one of them. And so it's like, it's fun. And I'll get them for like my hair and makeup people. So it's kind of like you're getting them for the, for the team.
Right.
But I usually say like, hey, if this is done, beforehand, then what we can do is the bride's already done. So then she's finished in all the photos that she's in. We can get the robe photo or the PJs or whatever, get her like holding the dress, some kind of candids, like opening gifts or writing, finishing up the vows or, stuff like that.
So when you first come in, do you do flat lays?
Yeah. So I like detail shots. So, we'll get the details. So I guess, if they're still in hair and makeup, then that does work. I probably don't spend as much time on the flat lays as some people. Okay. So I know people they allocate a lot of time. And that maybe I should allocate more time to it, but I've kind of just created a chaotic look. And I'm like, this works.
Everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different style. Because I think that's what I've been doing, and I haven't had a single complaint yet, thankfully.
Yeah, not yet.
But, I want that. I always say photos are so important. Like, that's why I want to loop in the photographer. And there's so many different personalities. There's so many different photographers. So many work so differently that how could anyone keep that straight and remember that, unless it's like I work with you so much that I remember absolutely everything. But for the most part, I don't remember.
Yeah, right.
I'm so tired half the time.
I'm so tired.
Just so tired. But usually I will kind of start photography and then I put the flat lays to start when they're finishing up hair and makeup. And then by the time you're done with the flat lay, I would hope everyone's ready for that robe photo. Yeah. That's usually the way I've been doing it.
I recommend 60 to 90 minutes before the bride is scheduled to be in her dress is usually when I like to arrive.
Perfect.
So it's like enough time to get the details, get some of the getting ready, some of the commotion in the room. Yeah. And then I usually run 2 photographers. Okay. So the photographer can either help with details or get photos of the groom. And the guys are easy. I mean,
guys are so easy.
5-10 minutes, you got it.
So easy. I know, and I've talked about this with other planners as well, and I'm like, usually 30 minutes before that hair and makeup complete time is when I have put photography starts to go into that detail or that flat lay. And I've had other planners be like that have been doing this longer than me. 45 minutes. I'm like, I haven't had a photographer be mad at me yet. Say that's not working.
I mean, more time. Like I've realized I like time. I like more time because it allows for, you got to make room for the Holy Ghost, right? Where you're there and you don't know, exactly. You may be inspired, I may see something. And so I like having time where you can get a little creative. So it's like you have room for the unexpected, or for like, because when stuff's almost too structured, or it's too, hey, we're going here, we're going here, we're going here, it's hard to kind of like go deep. And, for me as a creative, I like having a buffer room where we're not stressed. We're not trying to rush around and get places.
Right.
Because then you can kind of look for 100%. Things.
So kind of to answer the question, when do you like to see a timeline from a planner? You're more or less just running off of your own.
Yeah.
You're good with it. You're like, I don't care what you gave me.
so I do like when the planner, so usually they're like the first contact. And so they'll kind of like high level it, which is great. And then I'll just kind of walk through it. So they do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So then I get to come in and just basically pick the things I like, add it to mine, and then chat through with the couple and say, hey, let's do this, and this here. And so you guys are, so it's more on you then, because if there's not a planner, then it's on me to kind of like,
right.
Then I just round everything to 30.
Right. 30 minutes. I'm just doing it. Grouping it all in this 30. So talking about the flow of the day and the timeline, a big hot topic that I feel like happens a lot, that I hear like at almost every other wedding, someone brings this up. Toast during dinner, yay or nay?
I prefer them not to be.
Thank you.
For me.
Yes. That's how I feel.
It's like, I understand. So just from as a vendor. Yes. It's like, it's nice to have that kind of just break and know you're done. Otherwise it's like a little lull. I think too, I've seen it happen where, hold on, sorry. Do you get all the spam calls all the time now?
It's crazy.
Dude. And like you like
text too.
Every now and again I'm like, maybe this is a client. Maybe this is the one.
And then you answer it and you regret it.
And then you hear like the little click and they're like, oh, glad I got a hold of you. I'm like, shut up. Makes me so mad.
It's so bad.
I was like, this is it. This is my big break. They're finally calling now. Spam. So I was just at a wedding recently, and they were trying to speed things up. So they put down all the salads beforehand. And like, I guess we'll eat the salads. These guests were considerate. They didn't want to eat the salads when everyone was talking. So they had the willpower to just stare this thing. And then, videos like, listen, we don't want like forks and knives going during speeches. Like we don't, audio picks it up. And it's like for video, for us, like it stills. But for them, like this is like their Super Bowl. They need the audio. This is what they use to drive it. And then, the tears and the emotion, everything. So I prefer like just come in and get it done. And it's hard because some people talk a lot longer. And I get it. Like these people love you. Yeah. And it's hard to say, hey, listen, like don't love them as much. Yeah. Right. Like when people have these giant wedding parties and 10 people want to give speeches, I'm like, first of all, you're doing something right in the world that this many people want to. Yeah, the people love you. But I'm also like, well, you might blow up the timeline a little bit. Yes. And, dial back. And I've seen some dads go. I saw this dad once go 45 minutes. Oh, dude, he was cooking too. And like no one knew. And the bride was like signaling. Yeah, and he's like he was like, yeah. And I think in his mind, like he was only talking for like, right. We're all just like, oh wow. It was great. He came alive.
He came alive. That was his moment.
It was his moment, yeah.
It was his wedding day.
He's probably paying for it. So, what are we going to say?
If you want a lot of people to talk, the answer is not toast during dinner, in my opinion as well. I so agree. Have some people talk at the rehearsal.
Yes, and I've seen that happening a lot too.
If they are just dying to talk or really make it very clear, hey, like my photographers or videographers or planners are saying, like, we need to make sure this is a 2-minute speech, toast, whatever the case is. The issue that I am getting with this is catering, or especially like venues that are full service, or especially country clubs. Yeah. That are like, this is how we do it. I worked a really great wedding with wonderful people in Deep Creek, and I was a little bit out of my comfort zone because it was vendors that weren't fully from Pittsburgh. Okay. We had to pull in a DC caterer that was spectacular, but that's a different conversation. Yeah. But one of the things that was like really annoying is they were like, well, we're going to start serving salads while like the speech are happening. And I was like, no. Like, as a planner, I try to have the full overview of everything, right? You hear thoughts and opinions from every single vendor, and it's important to take all those into consideration and do what makes the most sense. Catering, I hear you. I hear you want to get salads out. I hear you want to start. But to me, like, you then have the people that are eating or reactions, and they have a big bite of salad in their mouth. Like, that looks ridiculous. Yeah. Like, I just don't think that's the answer either. I don't think it's the answer for anyone but catering.
Catering needs to get it together. I will say too, like there's been speeches where like the couple's so hungry, and like someone's talking because maybe it goes too long, and they're like eating, and I'm like trying to get this thing. I'm like, they're not gonna want this,
right?
Got food in their mouth.
It's silly, but especially from the videographer standpoint, that's what I hear all the time. Like the forks and everything's clanking during it, so it's like that's not the answer. So same with having salads preset. They could potentially start eating them when it's preset. Or you have movement, like all the staff setting salads when the toasts are happening.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
I think, maybe ideally, it's just a lot of certain amount of time, and you just hope that it doesn't go over. And you say, listen, just get this done beforehand, and then it's done. And then dinner can go, can be a vibe, and then the couple can, to break it up, they can go and visit. If they're finished early, they can visit their tables and see people. That's
a really good idea.
Stuff like that.
I feel like I need to put a PSA out there. Photographers and videographers that work with Joyful Events by Jade, if there are any toasts happening during dinner, I swear to God, it wasn't me. Yeah. It wasn't me. It wasn't us. Because that's like part of just like my style as well. Like I care about, I just want everyone to be happy. As long as the couple's happy, like that's like my priority. Yeah. And if I'm at a country club, a prestigious country club that's pushing it, what am I gonna do? Be like, your way sucks. Like, I guess, it'd be interesting because same thing where it's like couples are trusting the vendors and the people that they hire, and so and they don't know if their caterer blows up timelines or not. Yes, yes. They don't know, and so it'd be cool to someone needs to assemble a doc of just tips, just a bulleted list. Yes, like an overall for every vendor. Like this is what works the best, or something. An ebook. An ebook. You should do it. Should it be me? I love that. That should be kind of great. It's like you get married. It's like when you have a kid. You're like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah. Like it'd be great to get an ebook. Like a bulleted list. Because I don't have the time. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have the time. I don't know if I do. I have a lot of ideas and very little time to execute. I start a lot of things, a lot of projects, like podcasts, and your new content. Which is going great. Oh, speaking of, here, I'm going to shout out my lifestyle brand that, Till Death, Do Us Part. So cute. Faith and Fidelity. Tell me about this. TillDeathTogether.com. So I had an idea to create some branded merch for clients and eventually sell it. So actually okay, here's what I really wanted to do. I'm just going to say it because I've been sitting on this. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. I love it. It all started with, I don't like boutonnieres. I think they're dumb. I like lapel pins instead. Oh, yeah. So I feel like lapel pins are great, and I feel like they're timeless because, we've all seen the dead flowers at the end of the day. Yes. And so I wanted to start a lapel pin company for weddings. Okay. And I was going to call it Till Death Do Us Part and sell lapel pins. And I don't have any time to do that. But so, I do own the URL, and we're gonna sell merch. You can go there and sign up for the pre list, and we'll get some stuff probably early next year. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I love it. Absolutely, thank you. TillDeathTogether.com. TillDeathTogether.com. Perfect. Till Death Together, I think, is on IG. Okay. There's 4 of us. Give it a follow. Well, thank you, Michael. I love my T-shirt. I'll wear the heck out of this. Wear the heck out of it. Please do. So your great ideas, man. I love it. One thing you mentioned earlier was having your own paperwork and your own processes, which is great. I think that's so important. One thing that I have noticed is I think you're really great at tagging all the vendors in your captions when you post on Instagram. One of my bigger pet peeves, and I think it started to kind of be more of a pet peeve when I started Brie Baskets, my co-own picnic planning company, and people will post photos of the picnic, and it's so different, like to see like a picnic out there, and then they just will not tag Brie Baskets, and I'm like, well, I'm sure there's someone out there looking at this photo saying, how the hell did you get that picnic? They did it themselves. I guess they built a table and everything. So that started to be like, wow, like why aren't you tagging Brie Baskets in the caption? Some people, and I've noticed other vendors do this a lot too. I did a styled shoot, and there was a vendor that tagged all of the other vendors, but just in the actual like photos itself and not in the caption. Yeah. And I don't feel like people are actually really clicking that and seeing who did everything. And that I'm guilty of that one too, honestly. But I feel like you do sometimes outline them a lot. So I don't know. We have the time. So
Here's
yes,
okay.
Let's talk about that.
I have a part of my process. I have a questionnaire that goes out, and I ask for the different vendors, but it's not a comprehensive list. Because some weddings too, they have maybe different vendors I wouldn't even know about. So I have I try to have a catch-all, like, hey, is there anyone else that we should mention? And so when I'm going through, if I have the time and I'm putting it together, I'll try to tag them all. And usually if they can list it, and then what I love is some planners will actually put together a list of all the vendors and send that out with their timeline.
I'm starting to do that.
That I definitely look at, and then I'm like, okay, this makes it so nice. Or if they tag them all earlier, then I can go online. And you can't copy and paste from the app, but you can go onto the URL and you can copy and paste, and then you put it in your own caption.
Okay.
So that's very nice.
Because it does take time to list.
It takes time,
out.
and then I feel like it's, and I did a wedding recently too. It was a big production. They had a lot of really cool little unique things, and I remember texting the bride afterwards. She's like, "Oh, could you tag so and so? Could you do this too?" And I was like, and I have no problem doing that because I want to make sure people see, and it helps me out too when they share their photos,
right?
Because then it's just more exposure.
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like that's what's interesting because we all want more exposure.
Yeah.
A big part of Instagram is it can be free unless you're obviously running an ad, but it's for the most part free marketing that we could all use and help each other in this community. So when people don't tag other vendors, or I feel like there are some photographers that, again, because of social media and more hot takes are getting out there and people are being more open, and especially with threads, a lot of photographers more recently I've seen are talking about their galleries, and other vendors shouldn't have access to those galleries, which I understand to an extent, and that's what I want to talk about with you and get your point of view, because how can we all work together and not annoy each other, whatever the case is, from a planning point of view.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a full-scale planner. Let's talk about this. Let's say I spend hundreds of hours with a couple for a year and a half and on, and I then get to the end and the photographer, I haven't done this yet, or they either ghost me or they don't respond to the fact that I'm like, hey, I'll tag you with all credit to you. This was a full scale couple. Can I have access to your gallery? And I get crickets. And I don't know if, can just respond and say I have a requirement or you need to pay for it.
Yeah.
Or I don't really know what the answer is, but I feel like photographers are so upset at other vendors. Again, more speaking from a planner point of view, because I planned the whole thing and now I can't have photos to it. What is that? I don't know. I want your point of view.
Yeah, it's really interesting because so it's the way it used to be was, and it still is this way. So if you take you click the button, you own the photo. And so then you have the copyright and the rights to this image.
Right.
And so it used to be that, even wedding photography, the photographer would then sell these images, so it was maybe it was film or when, earlier, and then couples would come in and they would buy the images or license the images that they wanted to print or to have. And so it was always photographer they're taking the pictures, but they own them all and they're holding on to them. Yep. But then as social media goes, that's gotten very fuzzy. And I think as people, it was never really, there's no grand hierarchy of photography that's this is the way it must be. There's no board you got to pass. There's no set established rules. And so, it's very fuzzy, especially, and then with cell phones too, it's everyone has a camera. So everyone has this. And so for me, when I started, I didn't, go to school for photography. I didn't have an old head who was you have to do it this way. It was just for me, it was a competitive advantage to share my photos with everybody. Right. I probably watched something on Creative Live or remember Creative Live?
No.
Okay. So Creative Live is fine.
I know.
Creative Live was the creatives YouTube before everything was on YouTube. And so they'd bring these big name photographers and people, and they would share their information. You're oh my God, I'm learning from so-and-so. The guy's a billionaire now. But for me, it was I'm going to share these because I'm young and I just want the exposure. It'd be better for me to be in good graces with such venue or vendor or whoever than make, $100 and then be this guy sucks.
Right.
I had to go. I think where it gets tricky is people expect the photos and they want them right away. And I get it that you're doing this work and you're putting into it, but at the same time, it's not on the photographer. The photographer doesn't owe you anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, maybe a nicer email like, hey, listen, I would absolutely love these images. Mm-hmm. You could offer to buy them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you run the risk too that they may be like, yeah, it's $100 a photo, or they may just say, hey, it's free. And I think that's what makes it hard is you don't really know what you're getting into.
Right.
What's the personality of this photographer? Mm-hmm. Are they going to really press the issue, or are they going to be like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, just tag me. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I've done, and I got this, I think it was Leanne Marie. She talked about this years ago, and she was like, she just shares. She has an email that goes out with the gallery to all the vendors that are listed in like the form, and I think she has like she asked like, hey, tag me in this, but be mindful it's like the client's gallery. No, actually, she's even better because I think I remember what she does. She'll curate a gallery for each venue.
Oh wow!
I know, it's so good.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say this. It's not my tip.
Now you're like, damn. Now I get it.
I don't do it. I don't have the time. I wish. I think it's brilliant though.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was an influencer for a while too.
Really?
Yeah, she was like in the circuit.
See, and she's happily sending out her photo gallery. But I think that's what the problem is there's no blanket right or wrong way of doing it. And then like I'll have photographers that I don't even ask, and they just same thing, just send the gallery. Yeah. They want to send the planner the gallery, and then there's others that ghost. You don't hear from them, or they get upset about it.
I've had people slide in my DMs day of the wedding, like, hey, make sure you tag us or send us the photos. I'm like, I am gonna forget. Yeah. This is gonna get big. I get so many DMs.
I could only.
No, I'm not kidding. I don't get any.
I believed you. I believed you.
Very popular, very important man. No, but it's like. So my to-do list is my email. And so if it's in my inbox, like it'll get cycled through. But then when you get stuff like, and I have a phone number that's linked to my business that doesn't sometimes makes it to my phone, sometimes not. And so like I was just on Facebook, my Facebook business page the other day, and I saw a request from someone like months ago. And then Facebook has that automatic message like, hey, message received, we'll get back to you soon. And
so like, then you don't see it.
Never saw it.
Yeah.
Never saw it.
I know, which is helpful, but also not helpful.
So I would say, like, I think... well,
yeah, what's the right answer?
I would say ask the photographer nicely. Say, hey, listen, how do you feel about this? Can I have these photos, please, when you're ready? And then just follow up with them. Because, photographers got a lot of stuff going on. Right. So I think, just kind of being polite. But I think when you demand photos, like, these are mine, and like, they're really not. And so if
I don't do that.
If you really want the photos, or you have a vision, then I think you'd get it yourself. Or ask the photographer beforehand. Okay. I think that could be, maybe that's the thing. Like, hey, listen, like, do you mind getting this really great photo for me? I have X amount of budget for this. While you're there, do you mind? They may take you up on that. I mean, maybe, so I think like being proactive, or, I think that would be really good. Or just kind of, I know there are some people that bring in their own people.
And that's where it all comes down, right? Then it's like, are you annoyed now because I brought in a random photographer?
Oh, yeah, it gets tricky.
And then...
I think there's so many personalities. I know. Like, I wouldn't mind. Like, I don't really mind content creators. I think it's cool. I had a really great experience with the one that I worked with, though. She was great. She took so much footage. And I was like, what's going on with all this?
What are you really doing with everything?
What's happening? The client's just going to get this? Yeah. Like, do you know how many pictures I have on my phone? And I don't look at them.
I know.
Like, but I also shoot as a photographer. Like, I'll take, all these, and then, but I do like the iPhone because it'll like pop them back up my memories. Like, oh yeah, I remember before I was gray. So nice.
Yeah. So then, I don't know. Then it comes down to if we all need content creators, or there are going to be 5 content creators around at a wedding. So it's just I would rather share your photos. Yeah. And expose it that way, because that's just the way I feel about it. I think then if every single vendor needs to bring a content creator, then it's diluted. Then it's more vendor meals for the couple, and it's just diluting everything. Now, okay, yes, if you want me to pay for the gallery, happy to. Now I got to raise my prices to pay for everyone's gallery.
I think everyone. So just get if you want your own content, just buy the newest iPhone.
That's where I'm at.
Don't buy a DSLR, a mirrorless or whatever, unless you're really passionate about it. But like the new iPhone, a friend of mine, I haven't updated in a while, sent me some stills, and it's so good. Crazy. And when you're setting up, just grab some nice photos. Yeah. And that may be enough. And then, if you get stuff from the, like I see a lot of hair and makeup artists, they take their own pictures.
Oh, for sure. For hair and makeup, that makes a ton of sense.
And then they got it.
That makes a ton of sense.
Like a time lapse or something. So,
which is funny that some, especially you see it more from hair and makeup, they will put in their contract. I haven't seen this, but I've heard about this happening, that they're basically legally binding the couple or whoever's signing that contract that their photographer has to share photos and tag them.
I think it's funny. I mean, like,
isn't that wild?
I think in theory it's great, but like, I don't think
that doesn't make
it's not going to hold up.
It doesn't hold up.
Or no one's really like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Like when the photographer owns the copyright to the photo, you can't like, hey, because I did this, I get a thing to it.
Right.
I think that's how it works.
And from a photographer point of view too, like you're taking so many portraits throughout the day, and hair and makeup is in every single photo, but it's like, how are you supposed to, I don't know, remember that or tag that every single time? Like you're just always just tagging hair and makeup.
And here's the thing,
I don't know. It seems a little much.
So I think what it is do not be offended when you're not tagged.
Yeah.
Why don't you just reach out and say, hey, listen, I know you're busy. These photos are so great. Do you mind tagging me? And I get, because like I've neglected to tag people. Either I forgot, or I didn't know that they were part of the venue, or I got it confused with something else because they hired out to someone else who also works for someone else. And so it's like, when you're using subcontractors too, it's like, oh yeah, you're with so-and-so. Like, actually I'm with so-and-so today. And so it's like, it gets confusing. So, no hard feelings. I would love to tag everyone if I could.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't have, I'm only one soul.
Right.
I don't have the energy or the manpower to make sure, because it's like, the world is lucky that I even got this one picture out. This took so much energy to get this out here. And then it's like, if I delayed anything else to make sure it was perfect, it's like just 80% and ship it. And, it may not be, like, that's something I'm trying not to care as much with the things that I post. Like, I still want it to be good, but like I used to sit on photos, and then the longer I look at it, the more I hate it. Yeah. Like all my photography. I'm like, you know what? I don't even this isn't even good. Like, I don't think I like this anymore. So sometimes you just gotta like put it up there and just say, because no one's really going to be looking at your feed, I don't think, as much as you are. No one really cares. Like, they're going to give it a high level, but I think we obsess like over image. It's like, what you tell your kids when they're getting ready for school, and they're like obsessing about like this thing. Like, everyone's worried about themselves.
Yeah. Everyone is worried about themselves.
Or they'll look at your stuff and be like, I hate it, or I love it, or I wonder what I'm eating for lunch. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. I think just like the one other like interesting like thought with all of the galleries and photos, and again, I'm just thinking from a planner point of view, because I understand like a DJ, for example, like feel like that is more marketing if you would find a photo in the gallery of you like doing your thing. I don't know. It's just like the wedding as a whole, especially when it comes from design and a place setting and everything that you put together possibly as a planner, and then it's like, well, you can't have photos of that. It kind of creates this value of my photos are more important than the work you put into it.
I think what it is, because if I really sit and think about it, like, for example, there's a DJ company, and I share photos with them all the time. But like, if I really think about it, I'm like, well, do I want them posting my photos because they also offer photography services? And then are my photos on their feed then creating, even if they're tagging me, are people looking at it and being like, oh, this must be from their photographers?
Interesting.
And if I really think about it, I'll be like, no, you know what? That's not right. But I've realized I only have so much energy.
Yeah.
And who posts my photos, and if proper credit is there, is just one thing I don't really have the energy for. Now, that said, I haven't been, like, I know there's some photographers that have been very mistreated. And so they have like, a whole different experience. Like, I know there's stories of where someone will take their entire body of work, rebrand it, and then create like a whole different website, or another photographer will market it as their own work. And I think that's dishonest, and I think that would definitely like cause me to clamp down. It may even be somewhere. But for me, like with other vendors, I feel like, feel free, just, hey, tag me, and that's been easier for me to manage with that kind of open-handed policy, and just, believe that things are going to work out, and, maybe I lose some jobs or make someone else look better. But at the end of the day, that doesn't, it's fine. I just only have so much energy.
Right. Is it safe to say that maybe at this point in time, photographers are just so beaten down?
We're so tired.
They're so tired. So tired. Be nice to your photographer.
Just be nice to us, please.
I know, because I just feel like there's just most of the hot takes and everything that I see and the frustration is coming from photography. So I want to make it better. I want people to be happy. I want us all to work together and have a good time. And it's like, I'm not trying to take your photos or whatever. It's just I put so many hours into planning this whole thing that it's like, okay, if I have to raise my prices now to get photos from every single photographer, let's talk about that. But like, bro, like, I can't afford to pay for every single gallery.
I think it's worth a conversation.
Yeah.
And I believe instead of assuming that this photographer is going to be like the last photographer, just give him a quick call.
Ask politely.
Just hey, like a call, like not even a text, because here's the thing, I've learned this too. Anything in a text or email is always read in the negative. And so if a photographer's having a bad day and they get your email,
like so fucking over it
for photos, they're gonna think that you're like saying this like some brat, like where are my photos? But I'm saying like they're running around.
Interesting.
So if you just call, like, hey, listen, like your photos were so good. Is it cool if I post a couple? Can I have? Is there any way I could see the gallery? Like, what's your policy on that? They're like, oh my god, I love this person. They're so nice.
Another hot take, quote unquote, because everyone says hot take. What's your hot take? Oh my god, you got a hot take?
Only lukewarm takes here.
They're just a little warm. Someone said that it was on Threads. It wasn't anyone local because you know how Threads pumps you just anything that's kind of related to you.
I'm like, why am I on this?
It's just I see so angry and rude all the time.
I'm like, I do need to know what this is.
So clickbaity. But someone said that a planner asked for the gallery, this big thing. I was upset about it, and she wasn't happy with the quote-unquote collaborative post that I did. I invited that person to a collaborative post. This was a photographer talking about a planner. And this happened to me once kind of before, and I was super appreciative. But I just helped a couple design their wedding. So the couple like wasn't like a full service or even day of coordination client. And I got a collaborative post, and every single photo in that collaborative post was just portraits of the couple. So from my point of view, that's great. Love it. It didn't show a single piece of work that I did. Yeah. And it's like, oh, she should just be happy with the collaborative post. I am, and I love it. I just want, I think, photographers and a lot of other vendors to understand that we also put other work into it. And we want it to be seen as well. So when your collaborative post is just showing beautiful portraits of the couple, like so beautiful, I would love like a tablescape photo. Yeah. Like just
it's interesting.
I put a lot of thought into that menu card.
The collaborative post is like the Wild West right now because
so wild.
There's no I think it's like I haven't really thought much about it, but I know I thought to recently because my aesthetic, like I worked with a planner recently, and I understand like my aesthetic. Or maybe this wedding doesn't really fit their thing as a whole. And I was like, they're probably not going to accept this collaborative post.
Did they?
They did not. But I understand. I'm not upset about it. So I think for me, it's like, even like, the reason I like a collaborative post is so I can tag my couple. Because everyone knows when the wedding photo goes out.
I love them.
Well, that's the one that gets all the likes.
Yeah.
And then it boosts my ego.
Yeah. I needed
I
that
get
today.
all the comments, and then you look at it, it's like, you're so beautiful. Congratulations. I'm like, what about the photos, guys? But it's like, but I don't know. I feel like, but also, I was wondering recently when a bride didn't accept my collaborative post. I was like, maybe she didn't like the way she looked in one of these photos.
Interesting.
But I liked it because of the lighting or whatever. And so I think you have to be very careful because some people manage their feed a lot closely. And so if they don't like the top photo or they have like a whole black and white color or thing going on, and that's going to mess up the aesthetic. So, I think that collaborative post is just like you could talk about it beforehand.
Right.
I did get an email once from a planner like, hey, we're going to do this collaborative post. Will you be a part of it? And I thought it was very interesting. It was like a preemptive collaborative post. And I was like, I don't know, am I going to like it? Like, because I got a thing going on with my feed now. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like,
as a photographer, I like starting the collaborative posts.
Yeah. But which makes so much sense coming from a photographer. Because the photo they might pick is like, I'm like, yeah, but this is not. Right. I love them. Keep inviting me. I'm good with it. I just want there to maybe be a little bit more showing of the actual work from the planner. That's it. But
I realized I need to post more detail shots.
See, because we all have different points of views and what we see and what we love. And for you as a photographer, it's the different art of the couple.
I love the people.
Exactly.
But I also realized that like part of their day and people want to see the other things too.
Right.
And so
right.
I'm trying to make them, an effort.
As beautiful as you all are, all of our couples.
We want to see your tables.
I just kind of want to see your
We want to see your
table.
stemware.
I want to see your flowers a little bit. It's nice. MichaelWillphotography.com. Thank you so much for joining me. Second photographer on the podcast. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Like I said, just from like my planner point of view, I just wanted to.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Rice Krispies.
Thank you. Have a.
Thanks.
See ya. Yeah.